5 silent moves that make people regret disrespecting you. In the quiet of the mountains, the wind carries no judgment, and the trees do not retaliate against the axe that strikes them. Yet with time, the roots remain, and the forest reclaims itself. This is the essence of silent strength. Many people confuse stillness with weakness, and silence with surrender, but the deepest rivers flow silently, and the strongest warriors strike without a sound. When someone disrespects you, it is not your duty to respond with the same fire. Fire that meets fire becomes destruction, but when fire meets calm water, it is extinguished. Let us then not be consumed by the noise of reaction, but rise through 5 silent moves that hold more weight than 1,000 shouted words. These are not for revenge, but for evolution. And when executed with discipline and clarity, they lead others to realize the gravity of their actions without you uttering a single word. Here are 8 keynotes that illuminate these 5 silent moves. They are not weapons, but mirrors showing others who they are and reminding you of who you must become. Withdraw to observe, not to retreat. There is a sacred space between action and reaction. It is not weakness that chooses to step back, it is wisdom. To withdraw is not to retreat. It is to pause, to breathe, to create the distance necessary for a clearer view. Like the mountain that watches the storm pass without moving, one must learn to be still amid emotional turbulence. When disrespect arrives at your doorstep, it does not come alone. It brings with it the echoes of insecurity, the need for dominance, the misunderstanding of strength. And often, when people project such energy, they do not realize the weight of their actions. The reactive mind seeks immediate balance to defend, to strike back, to prove a point, but the trained mind resists that pull. It steps back not to escape but to understand. Observation is a higher discipline. When you withdraw from a situation in silence, your attention sharpens, the noise around you becomes data. You begin to see not just what was said, but why it was said. You recognize the pain behind the aggression, the fear behind the arrogance, the chaos behind the disrespect. In this clarity, you no longer carry their burden as your own. To step back is to reclaim your power. You are no longer at the mercy of their words. Instead of entering their storm, you remain rooted. Like a tree, you sway, but you do not fall. From this position of internal stillness, every action becomes intentional. You do not waste energy explaining yourself to those who misunderstand you. You no longer plead for dignity in rooms where it is not recognized. You simply leave, not as a victim, but as one who values his energy too much to trade it for momentary validation. The one who disrespects expects a reaction. That is how they feel control. Your silence removes that control. Your observation reverses the roles. Now it is they who are exposed, they who must sit with the discomfort of not being able to affect you, and this discomfort often becomes the seed of regret. In many ways, to observe silently is the ultimate response. It reflects restraint, maturity, and depth. You are not led by impulses, but by intention. You are not driven by revenge, but by realignment. Your stillness speaks volumes to those who are too loud to hear their own thoughts. This silent observation also serves as your mirror. It allows you to witness your own triggers. You learn what still controls you and what you have overcome. You become aware of the parts of you that still seek approval or fear rejection. And with this awareness comes transformation. You refine yourself not to prove anything to others, but to become immune to what once unsettled you. In a world where everyone is reacting, the one who observes becomes rare. And in that rarity lies strength. Your silence is not passive, it is alive, it watches, listens, reflects, and then when the time is right it moves. But by then you are no longer reacting, you are leading. When you withdraw with clarity, you do not disappear, you simply rise above the chaos, and from that elevation, everything looks different. The one who insulted you no longer looks powerful, the situation no longer seems urgent, and your spirit no longer feels endangered. This is the victory of the inner path. It wins not by force, but by freedom. Silence creates space, and in that space your mind opens, you breathe, you feel your center return. You remember who you are before the world tried to define you. This memory is your anchor. It keeps you grounded, unshaken, untouchable. So next time disrespect comes, do not rush to defend your name. Instead, become the watcher. Withdraw with grace. Observe in silence. And watch how their disrespect begins to echo back to them louder than anything you could have said. Elevate yourself, not your voice. There is a temptation that arises in the moment of disrespect, a desire to assert, to raise one's voice, to remind others of your worth through forceful words. But a raised voice often speaks of inner insecurity, not strength. When your spirit is rooted in deep self-awareness, it no longer needs to shout to be heard. It begins to rise not through noise, but through refinement. Raising your voice is a reaction. Raising your standard is a response. One is driven by ego, the other by discipline. When someone speaks low of you, you are offered a choice to descend to their level or to ascend silently into your higher path. True power does not compete. It creates distance, not the kind of distance born of pride, but of clarity. When you begin to elevate yourself, you no longer need to chase respect. You command it not through intimidation, but through inspiration. The one who disrespects is often trapped in patterns of thoughtlessness, of pain projected outward. If you return their noise with more noise, you become entangled in the same web. But if you choose instead to refine yourself, to commit to deeper purpose and clarity, you step out of the web entirely. Elevation requires silence because it is a solitary path. No one can walk it for you. You rise by improving not to prove anything, but to remove anything that no longer serves. You let go of toxic attachments, you become precise in your actions, and you transform your daily habits. Every act of self-mastery becomes a statement not to the world, but to yourself. A reminder that you are not who they said you were. You are who you choose to become. When people witness your silent elevation, it unsettles them. The one who expected you to break sees you become unshakable. The one who hoped to diminish your spirit now watches it expand. And because you never responded with resentment, your growth shines even brighter. This is a kind of regret that speaks without confrontation, the regret of underestimating a soul that chose discipline over destruction. It is easy to yell. It takes nothing to react, but to remain composed while you rise, that is power. The more you grow, the more their words lose meaning, not because you forget them, but because you outgrow them. Like an eagle rising above the clouds, you no longer hear the noise of the crows below, not because it has stopped, but because you've risen beyond its reach. This silent elevation also brings peace. You no longer waste time trying to convince others of your worth. That energy is redirected toward creating, evolving, expanding. You build your vision, not your argument. You protect your integrity, not your pride. And your presence begins to carry weight not from dominance, but from depth. The discipline to elevate silently comes from inner alignment. You know your values, you know your direction. So when someone tries to pull you into conflict, you don't resist with aggression, you simply remain committed to your path. And the longer you walk it, the more evident your transformation becomes. This is not about arrogance, it is about quiet excellence, the kind that doesn't need applause to stay motivated, the kind that finds reward in the effort itself, and the kind that turns every act of disrespect into fuel for mastery. The higher you rise, the clearer your vision becomes. You begin to see that not every insult is worth answering. Some are simply reflections of the speaker's own chaos. And when you no longer feel the need to fight such noise, you free yourself from the burden of always having to explain. Elevation silences the critics without argument. It leaves no room for debate, because results speak, consistency speaks, character speaks, and all these things are built, not shouted. So when next you face disrespect, pause. Breathe, do not raise your voice, raise your standard, refine your craft, expand your heart, and most importantly, walk forward not to escape them, but to evolve beyond them. Let your growth be the voice they cannot ignore. Execute in silence. There is something sacred about silence that holds intent, a silence that is not emptiness but focus, a silence that contains vision, preparation, and quiet fire. This is the silence of execution, the work done without fanfare, the growth forged without announcement, the movement made without noise. When someone disrespects you, the world watches how you respond. But the most powerful answer is not in your words, it is in what you build silently behind the scenes. To execute in silence is to choose the long path over the loud one. Many people will speak loudly about their dreams. They will post, declare, and seek validation, but very few will go into the quiet corners of the world, day after day, and do the work, not to impress, not to prove, but because that is the path they have chosen. That is the path of the inner warrior. Those who disrespect you expect a response. They expect emotion, drama, retaliation. But when you choose to work instead of react, you redirect the energy they tried to steal from you. You take what was meant to break you and use it as building material. Their insult becomes your ignition, and while they sleep, you are refining. While they gossip, you are creating. While they doubt you, you are becoming. This kind of silent work is not seen at first. The world remains unaware. But deep beneath the surface, your foundation is forming. You're not just building results, you are building the kind of person who can hold them. You are strengthening your discipline, sharpening your skill, expanding your resilience. This is work that cannot be taken from you because it is not given by others. It is earned in silence, and then, without warning, you arrive. Your progress becomes visible, not through your words, but through your transformation. The ones who once mocked you now stand, surprised not because you proved them wrong with arguments, but because you proved yourself right with action. They thought you disappeared, but you were preparing, and now the results speak in a language that needs no defense. Execution in silence protects your energy. It shields your mind from distraction. You are not seeking approval along the way, so you are not derailed by criticism or applause. Your focus is clean, your path is steady, and your sense of worth does not fluctuate with opinion. This kind of self-containment is rare, and because it is rare, it becomes powerful. There will be moments when you are tempted to announce your plans, to show your progress too early, to prove your doubters wrong. But remember, true elevation does not need to be broadcast. Let your achievements reveal themselves naturally, like the dawn rising over the horizon. No noise, no explanation, just the undeniable presence of light. In this quiet execution, you also preserve your humility, because the silence keeps you grounded. It reminds you that the work is never done. That mastery is a path, not a destination, that the real reward is not in recognition, but in becoming. And so, while others chase attention, you continue your walk, calm, focused, relentless. Your silence becomes a mirror. It reflects the shallowness of those who once doubted you. They begin to see the contrast, their noise, your presence, their talk, your transformation, and slowly their confidence in their disrespect fades. Regret begins to take root, not because you shamed them, but because your silent progress illuminated their lack of it. To execute in silence is to trust the process. You are not hurried, you are not desperate. You are in rhythm with your purpose, and in this rhythm you become unshakable, because no matter what they say, you know what you're building, you feel it, you live it. So do not argue, do not explain, do not react. Work every day quietly. Let your results become your language. Let your consistency become your reputation. Let your elevation be your response. Because in the end, those who disrespected you will hear of your growth not through your voice, but through the echo of your success walking calmly past them. Detach without bitterness. There is a certain silence that does not arise from suppression, but from transcendence. To detach is not to abandon, nor is it to hate. It is to recognize when staying connected to a person, a memory, or a wound causes more harm than clarity. When you detach without bitterness, you carry no resentment, only wisdom. This is one of the highest forms of silent strength, the ability to walk away from what once disrespected you, not with a loud goodbye, but with an unshakable calm. Disrespect often attempts to pull you into a battlefield, not of logic, but of ego. In that space, both sides lose because what is being defended is not truth, but pride. But the one who sees clearly will realize that the strongest move is not to fight, but to leave. Not to escape, but to evolve. You do not need to slam the door or scream into the past. You simply stop investing your spirit where it is not respected. This kind of detachment is not coldness. It is warmth that has found a better direction. When someone disrespects you repeatedly, their actions declare your value to them. You do not need to analyze their words. Their treatment speaks. And when you've heard it enough, you come to a quiet conclusion. Your peace is more valuable than being understood by those unwilling to understand you. To detach without bitterness is to carry yourself forward without dragging anyone behind. You do not tell them you're gone. You simply stop showing up in places where your presence is ignored or mocked. You become like the river that quietly changes course without announcement or resistance, flowing with purpose and not against the stone. Many believe that to walk away is weakness, that silence in the face of disrespect is surrender. But they do not see the inner strength it takes to leave what you once cared for, especially when your ego still wants justice, still wants to be heard. But you learn that not every battle is yours to fight. Some are best won by stepping outside of them entirely. Bitterness keeps the wound open. It makes you believe that your healing depends on their apology. But it doesn't. Healing begins when you choose to stop revisiting the pain, when you realize that what they think, how they act, and what they say is not your responsibility. It is only your task to stay clean in your spirit, whole in your intention, and free in your heart. Detachment without bitterness also reflects inner mastery. It means you've understood that peace is not just about the absence of conflict, but the presence of alignment. If a space, person, or environment continuously takes more from you than it gives, then it is your discipline, not your emotion, that must decide what comes next. This form of silent movement disorients those who disrespected you. They expected you to argue, to chase, to justify. Instead, they see you vanish not into hiding, but into higher ground, and from this new place, your absence becomes the loudest thing in the room. Not because you try to make it so, but because true value is only often recognized once it is gone. You begin to realize that your presence was a gift, not a guarantee, that your attention, your time, your care, these were offerings. And when others treat them lightly, your silent departure becomes a reminder of what they lost. You didn't need to make them regret it. Life will. Detaching without bitterness also heals you faster, because your mind is no longer wrapped in the loops of why and what if. You no longer need explanations. You simply see things as they are and choose not to let them steal more of your peace. You give closure to yourself through clarity, not conflict. This is how you move forward in silence, not wounded, but wiser. You bless the past for what it taught you. You thank the disrespect for revealing what was hidden, and then you walk on steady, focused, lighter. So when you are disrespected, and when your spirit feels heavy with the weight of disappointment, do not react with rage. Do not carry grudges as if they are shields. Instead, detach quietly, completely, without bitterness, without blame. Your silence will say everything, and your peace will become the loudest proof that you have already won. Redirect your energy to inner mastery. When the world throws disrespect in your direction, you are presented with a crucial choice: to be consumed by it or to be carved by it. Most people, when hurt or insulted, allow their energy to scatter, lost in arguments, in emotional reactions, in the pursuit of proving their worth to those who never saw it in the first place. But there is another path, quiet, powerful, and disciplined, the path of redirecting all that energy toward the mastery of the self. Inner mastery does not begin in the absence of conflict. It is forged in the fire of provocation. When others belittle you, dismiss you, or insult your essence, there is a sharpness that enters your spirit. That sting is real, but it is not meant to defeat you. It is an opportunity to awaken. The pain you feel is not weakness. It is a signal. It is life asking, where is your center? Instead of reacting outward, you turn inward. This is the beginning of mastery. the decision not to waste energy on what cannot be controlled, the choice to take everything meant to harm you and use it as fuel. You begin training not just your body, not just your mind, but your entire presence. You become conscious of how you carry yourself, how you respond, how you speak, how you think. You stop chasing explanations from others and start cultivating understanding within. Disrespect no longer derails you, it refocuses you. You become sharper, clearer, more rooted. You recognize that every insult is simply a reflection of someone else's chaos. And so, rather than mirror their disturbance, you deepen your discipline. Energy is sacred, and when someone tries to provoke you, what they're truly trying to do is take your energy to make you doubt, to make you shrink, to make you forget who you are. But when you refuse to give it away, when you redirect it to your growth, your silence becomes louder than their insults. Inner mastery requires consistency. You start waking up with purpose, not resentment. You train not to escape the world, but to meet it stronger. You read, you meditate, you breathe deeply. You move with precision. You no longer speak to be heard, you speak to bring truth. You no longer act to prove a point, you act to align with your principles. And slowly you begin to transform, not in ways that are always visible to the eye, but in ways that are deeply felt by everyone around you. Your presence changes, your eyes carry calmness, your voice carries clarity, your silence carries weight. This is the quiet evolution of a person who has redirected their energy inward and refused to let the world define their state. People will notice. The same ones who once disrespected you will begin to sense the difference. Not because you fought back, but because you became someone they can no longer shake. Your stability becomes a mirror for their instability, and without saying a word, they begin to feel the truth of your strength. Inner mastery also brings freedom. You are no longer dependent on other people's approval or trapped by their judgments. You learn to stay steady in your lane, focused on your path. Their noise becomes background. Their opinions lose gravity, because you now understand that your peace is your responsibility, not their obligation. This journey inward doesn't mean you are passive. It means your responses are chosen, not impulsive. You no longer let temporary emotions dictate long-term actions. You have become your own teacher, your own student, your own protector. Redirecting energy to inner mastery is the long path. It does not offer instant relief. It does not give you applause, but what it gives you is priceless, unshakable self-respect. You begin to walk with quiet pride, not because others finally see your worth, but because you finally embodied it. So when the fire of disrespect comes, don't throw more flames. Return to your breath. Return to your training. Channel the heat into your transformation. Let the energy that was meant to distract you be used to build you. And over time, you will become untouchable, not because you are above others, but because you are finally aligned with your highest self. This is the path, quiet, demanding, powerful. Redirect your energy. Build yourself, master the inner world, and soon the outer world will follow. Embody the discipline they lack. There is a quiet, unwavering force that doesn't scream, doesn't boast, and doesn't crumble. It simply moves with purpose. This is the power of discipline, and when others disrespect you, especially through mockery, indifference, or criticism, the most humbling and transformative response is not to shout back, it is to embody the very discipline they lack. Discipline is not about rigidity, it is about alignment. It is the art of showing up for yourself every day, whether the world recognizes it or not. When others try to distract you with disrespect, it is often a reflection of their own lack of direction. Instead of attacking them or reacting with hostility, you simply stay the course. You become a living example of focus, of consistency, of grounded presence. The disciplined person becomes an anomaly in a world addicted to chaos. While others drift, you root. While others make excuses, you take responsibility. While they are scattered by drama, you are centered in your practice. This difference becomes increasingly visible and in time undeniable. The beauty of discipline is that it does not need to be spoken. It is felt. It is observed in your walk, your tone, your habits, and your results. The one who disrespected you begins to notice, not because you tried to prove something, but because your life now reflects everything they've been avoiding. You carry no resentment, only refinement. You don't demand apologies, you demonstrate standards. When you embody discipline, your presence becomes a silent lesson. It teaches others without lecturing them. It mirrors what they could become if they chose a different path. And for some, that realization is deeply uncomfortable because it shows them what's possible and what they've avoided. Regret begins not with your confrontation, but with their recognition of your quiet excellence. But this path is not easy. Discipline often feels invisible. You rise early while others sleep. You train when no one is watching. You choose silence over reaction, focus over distraction, and virtue over validation. No one may applaud, but something far more powerful happens. Your inner world begins to expand. You become trustworthy not just to others, but to yourself. You no longer break promises you've made in the dark. You no longer wait for circumstances to align. You create your own momentum, and the stronger your discipline becomes, the less disrespect affects you. It becomes small like noise in the background of a symphony you're composing. You are no longer reactive because you are rooted. You don't need to chase justice because you embody integrity. You don't need to correct others because your very existence begins to expose what they lack. Not through arrogance, but through example. And here lies the silent reversal. The one who disrespected you now stands in the shadow of your growth. They may never say it, but they feel it. They may never admit it, but they know it. Your consistency, your discipline, your unbreakable rhythm, all of it speaks louder than any defense you could have given. To embody discipline is to protect your energy. It's to walk with a kind of quiet authority that doesn't seek control, but commands respect naturally. You become a guardian of your time, your thoughts, your behaviors. You start to elevate not for validation, but for alignment with who you were meant to be. This embodiment also brings peace, because you are no longer thrown off course by external chaos. You know where you're going, you know why you're moving, and so, the opinions of others, whether disrespectful or flattering, no longer shape your path. Let them mock, let them doubt, let them walk away. You remain, you train, you rise, not with noise, but with quiet repetition, not with force, but with focus. This is how regret is born in the hearts of those who disrespected you, not because you punished them, but because you became everything they lacked the discipline to be. So choose this path, build your morning rituals, master your emotional state, hone your craft, guard your peace, become precise with your words and powerful in your presence. The world doesn't need more opinions. It needs more examples. Be one. Protect your energy, not your image. In a world increasingly obsessed with appearances, it becomes easy to fall into the trap of defending your image at all costs. When someone disrespects you, the urge often arises to correct their perception, to protect your name, to set the record straight. But that need to guard your image drains more energy than it restores. The wiser path, the more silent path, is to protect your energy, not your reputation. Your image is how others see you. Your energy is who you truly are. The former is fragile, shaped by gossip, misunderstanding, and assumption. The latter is sacred, formed through inner work, self-discipline, and alignment. The more you seek to defend how others see you, the more control you give them. But the moment you let go of that need and turn inward to guard your energy, you reclaim your peace. When someone disrespects you, the common reaction is to respond for the sake of others watching. We want to show we are not weak, not to be trifled with, not to be disrespected. But in doing so, we exhaust ourselves trying to win a battle that was never ours. We fight shadows, not reality, and our spirit becomes entangled in the opinions of people who were never meant to hold power over us. Protecting your energy means choosing where your attention goes. It means not giving the keys to your emotional state to anyone who knocks on the door with insult. When you realize that not every comment deserves a response, not every opinion deserves your validation, you step into freedom. It is the freedom of no longer performing for others, the freedom of walking your path without distraction. There is something deeply powerful about becoming unbothered, not because you're numb, but because you're clear. You know who you are, you know where you're going, and the noise of disrespect cannot pull you off course. That is the strength of the silent walker, the one who no longer needs to be seen, because he is already known by himself. Image is temporary, it can be torn apart in seconds, it is built on perception. But your energy, your focus, your integrity, these are within your control. These are cultivated in silence. When you protect them, you preserve your ability to grow, you remain whole. And those who once tried to provoke you are left confused because their efforts to pull you into reaction fail to shake your foundation. The person who prioritizes image over energy will always be exhausted. They will always need to explain, defend, and impress, but the one who protects energy can rest in stillness, knowing that what matters is not being understood by everyone, but being aligned with truth. This shift is not easy. It requires you to let go of your need to be right in the eyes of others. It asks you to surrender the spotlight and embrace the shadows where true growth occurs. It invites you to rise inwardly without applause. And that kind of rising, silent and strong, becomes undeniable. In time, those who once disrespected you may begin to notice, not because you confronted them, but because you continued to evolve. They may realize your silence wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. They may realize your absence wasn't defeat, it was protection. And in that realization, regret begins, not because you punished them, but because you preserved what they tried to damage your peace. You start to see that not reacting is a form of power, that your stillness is a boundary, that your detachment is a form of healing. You don't need to prove anything, you don't need to clarify, you don't need to shout. You are beyond their reach not because you escaped, but because you no longer play the same game. Protect your energy, walk away from spaces that drain it, let go of roles that exhaust it, remove your spirit from conversations that contaminate it. Your peace is more valuable than their approval, your focus is more powerful than their perception. This is not silence from suppression, this is silence from sovereignty, so do not waste your life fixing the image they broke. Use that energy to build the person they can never touch. Let time reveal the truth. There is an ancient discipline that outlasts all noise: patience. In the face of disrespect, it is often the most difficult virtue to embody because the ego desires immediate correction. The heart wants to be understood now, to be justified now, to be acknowledged now. But time does not bend to impatience. It reveals truth not at our command, but at its own quiet rhythm. And when we are wise enough to trust that rhythm, we no longer need to prove, we only need to become. Letting time reveal the truth is not passive, it is active silence, it is inner alignment while the world misjudges you, it is self-mastery while others speak falsely, it is choosing to focus on the long arc of your becoming rather than the short-term validation of your name. You are not ignoring the disrespect, you are simply no longer giving it control over your pace. The one who disrespects you often expects you to crumble or retaliate. That is the drama they seek, the moment of conflict where both parties fall. But when you step back and let time do what only time can do, you place yourself in a position of quiet power. You remove yourself from the chaos of the moment and place your trust in the clarity that only the passage of days, weeks, and years can bring. And in time, the truth always emerges. Character cannot be faked forever. Intentions cannot remain hidden, and your silent growth will not go unnoticed. Those who once doubted you will begin to feel the weight of their assumptions. Those who once spoke over you will begin to hear the silence that has grown too large to ignore. Your progress, slow, steady, unannounced, becomes a mirror, not just to them, but to the entire space you once walked through quietly. Time is the most disciplined judge. It is not swayed by gossip. It is not deceived by temporary appearances. It rewards those who are consistent, who are clear in their steps, who are patient enough to wait until the dust has settled. While others burn their energy defending themselves against shadows, you continue your silent climb. the truth you carry begins to manifest not in arguments won, but in results achieved, in peace maintained, in strength matured. Those who disrespected you will eventually feel the regret, not because you returned their insult, but because they now see what they could not before. Time has unveiled your nature. It has peeled back their illusions, and it has done so without your interference. There is humility in trusting time. It means you are not rushing life to understand you. You are allowing your actions to speak across seasons. You are letting your stillness mature into clarity. You are walking not in circles of conflict, but forward into depth. This kind of patience is forged in solitude. It requires you to walk alone for a while, to let go of the need to be seen, to surrender the spotlight and step into the shadows of discipline and quiet focus. In that solitude, your roots grow deep, your foundation becomes unshakable, and in time, those who once questioned you will see the fruit of what they could not perceive. You will not need to say, "I told you so." You will not need to revisit old wounds to reopen the debate. You will have become the evidence. Your life, your spirit, your peace, these will all testify on your behalf. In time, as the great witness, will speak for you louder than you ever could. So do not rush to fix what others have broken with their disrespect. Do not sacrifice your focus to defend your image. Do not meet their noise with your noise. Meet it with patience. Meet it with discipline. Let your work become the echo. Let your stillness become the message. And as time passes, let your truth rise slowly, surely, silently, because the ones who disrespected you will not regret their words from your reaction. They will regret them when they witness what you became despite them. That is the power of silent endurance. That is the grace of time. The silent path is the strongest in a world that constantly demands reaction. There is great courage in stillness. In a society that confuses volume with strength, there is unshakable power in quiet clarity. And in a time when many seek to prove their worth through confrontation, there stands a different kind of individual, one who rises not through resistance, but through refinement. This entire journey has not been about ego, revenge, or pride. It has been about evolution, about choosing the path of inner strength over external validation, about becoming so anchored in your spirit that disrespect no longer defines your movement. Instead, it sharpens your direction. When you withdraw to observe, you choose awareness. When you elevate your standard, you choose growth. When you execute in silence, you choose results over recognition. When you detach without bitterness, you choose peace over pride. When you redirect your energy inward, you choose mastery over drama. When you embody discipline, you choose consistency over chaos. When you protect your energy, you choose truth over perception. And when you let time reveal the truth, you choose patience over performance. Each of these is not merely a strategy. It is a reflection of who you are becoming, a person no longer controlled by external forces, but guided by inner truth. The ones who disrespected you may never say sorry. They may never acknowledge your worth, but this is not your concern. Your concern is the path clean, calm, unwavering, and in walking it, you transform their ignorance into your fuel, their doubt into your determination, their silence into your sovereignty. So stand tall, not in defiance, but in discipline. Carry no hate, only wisdom. Speak less, move deeper. Let your presence teach. Let your life testify, and let your silence echo louder than any insult ever spoken. You are not here to fight noise with noise. You are here to become the kind of soul that silence follows. This is how people come to regret disrespecting you, not through fear, but through realization. Not because you forced them to see it, but because you became impossible to ignore. And this is your quiet victory. Walk on. The path is waiting, and it is yours alone to walk.